what have I been watching over the past week or 2 weeks? Now, I didn't bring one of these to you last week because, well, I was super busy, so I didn't get to watch much. But what have I been watching? What films have I watched? We're going to take a look. Let's do it. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and yeah, so on this week's weekly watch list, now obviously on my last episode, the last film I mentioned that I watched was the movie Grosse Pointe Blank, and I'm playing this game, this kind of degrees of separation game, where one film has to lead into the next film by way of an actor, a co-star, maybe the musical score, maybe the director, if things get difficult, that sort of a thing. So I left up with the choice of Minnie Driver. I was going to go with Minnie Driver. And, well, what film did I watch? What did I watch? Well, we'll come to that in a little while, because not only am I playing that game, that's just a way of me working through some of my back title videos. Films that I've seen, but films that I may not think to myself, well, let's go and choose and pick this film. This way of picking films that honestly I probably even possibly wouldn't go and pick to watch. So we're going to come back to Minnie in a little while. Other films that I've watched in the interim. Now obviously Axel Foley. I watched Axel Foley. I've done a full review on this film. Okay, now I didn't give it a favourable review for good reason. I think that the film was 25 years too late. It feels like it's 25 years too late. It does nothing fresh with the character of Axel Foley. Yeah, it's nice to see Eddie Murphy back in the role, but ultimately the film offers nothing new, nothing fresh. It's quite lifeless, it's quite dull, and it does suffer from that straight to streaming issue that most straight to streaming films do suffer, and that is that they are instantly forgettable. These are essentially big budget straight to DVD movies. That's all they are. Yeah, there's nothing memorable in this film whatsoever. It's a shame because, you know, 25 years, 30 years since the last one, Beverly Hills Cop 3. Now I can't remember Beverly Hills Cop 3 at all. I remember a bit on the Ferris wheel or something like that, but it's been so long since I've seen it. But yeah, I think the series would have been better left off dead, shall we say. So you can go and check that out. If you want to hear more about my review, please feel free to go and check that one out. So that's the first watch. The next watch was another Netflix movie, The Hitman. Yeah, The Hitman. This one here. I'm not sure of the guy's name who stars in it. I actually watched that last night. Sat down and watched it. Actually, I watched it over 2 nights. I started it, I got tired, I fell asleep. I finished it yesterday at some point, and I think I've heard some good reviews on this film. I don't know why. I don't know why. It dragged. The premise is that you've got this fella who's essentially a school teacher who sort of part-time works with the police to help frame people that are trying to take out hits on other people and getting them into court and this sort of a thing. And he lets this one woman go. He talks her out of the hit. But then he kind of befriends her under his hitman alias. If that makes sense. He makes up all these aliases to try and, you know, get the people to trust him, so to speak. So he befriends her under his hitman alias, and they form a relationship. Her ex-husband then ends up dead. It's her that's killed him, and there's a police officer that tries to bribe them both and this sort of thing, who they end up killing by poison, or she poisons him, and the film kind of ends there. And they go on and have a life. And that's pretty much the film. Seriously. Yeah, it's got some good... It's nicely acted by the two main stars. And it's got Dwight, is it, from The Walking Dead? One whose face is all burnt up where Negan had ironed half his face. He's in it as a sort of corrupt cop. But I was waiting for something to happen. I was waiting. It never came. It never came what I was hoping to happen. Sorry if I'm rubbing my nose. I'm like hay fever and dust. It just never happened. It never came to pass what I was expecting to happen. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but ultimately the film then just came to an end, and it's like, well, that was all for nothing. You know, I didn't enjoy it. I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm not saying it's rubbish or anything like that. Probably worth a watch. It's just I've heard reviews on it saying it's the next best thing or whatever, and I couldn't see that. But there we go. And that's the subjective nature of film, isn't it? There we go. Anyway, next up. And these are in no particular order. Like I said, we'll come to Mini Driver in a little while. I watched RoboCop again. It's a classic. I always like visiting RoboCop. I have 4K steelbook of it as well. But there we go. I don't particularly like the film in 4K. I like it, prefer it on its Blu-ray. I think the 4K is too crisp for this movie. Honestly, I think it's too crisp, which is quite ironic because I'd done a video a while ago, films that deserve a 4K. One of them was RoboCop 2 that I mentioned, and lo and behold, there was an announcement that RoboCop 2 was getting a 4K release in America shortly after that video, and I do have that 4K of RoboCop 2 en route as we speak. It should be here this week. I'm looking forward to seeing that one in 4K. So yeah, one don't work in 4K for me, but the other one I wanted in 4K. I'd like to have seen get 4K release. So that's a bit odd. Now, I watched RoboCop for a reason, and I'm going to get into a little plug now. Plug for an upcoming video, but not on my channel. No. Chris over at Cypher Sigma Screen Time and Cypher Sigma Toys. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. His channels. Right, now every now and then me and Chris get together and we do a video called Discussing the Brand, which is on Chris's channels. We've looked at things like Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, this sort of a thing, and we discuss. And one of the upcoming ones is RoboCop. Yeah, RoboCop. Why RoboCop? Because, well, beyond the movie trilogy, you have the TV series of RoboCop, right? Documentary. You have animated series of RoboCop. Yeah, you have a remake of RoboCop. You have TV movies of RoboCop. These hour-and-a-half TV movies, like so. Dropping them now. Another animated release there. There's a wealth of RoboCop stuff, and beyond that, you do have comic books. Marvel Comics used to do a RoboCop comic book, and other companies used to do comic books after that. I'm sure there'll be RoboCop comic books moving forward. So yeah, so go over to Chris's channel, check his stuff out. Cypher Sigma Screen Time, Cypher Sigma Toys. I think it's on the toy channel that we normally do the discussing the brand, because they're normally focused around toys. You know, Transformers, Master Universe. But this one he may put onto the film channel because the film came first, obviously. So it would make sense. But yeah, go and check that out. And that's the reason why RoboCop was watched. For a little bit of homework. And I'll probably be watching some of the others, especially that 4K RoboCop 2. When that arrives this week, I will certainly be watching that. Yeah, so go check that out. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to my next watch. And again, Mini Driver will come back in a minute. But no, my next watch was Pirates of the Caribbean. No, it ain't Pirates of the Caribbean. What am I saying? Cutthroat Island. Pirates of the Caribbean. the other pirate film. This is a German copy, which I'm actually sending to Cypher Sigma, Chris over at Cypher Sigma Screen Time. I'm sending him a couple of bits. This year I said to him, "Do you want this?" He said, "Yeah, I like the film." All right, it's yours. Now, that's not the version I watched. I watched it in 4K. I watched the 4K version. Now, a little plug here for an upcoming video, because in a few days' time, I've got a video with a stack of steelbooks and bits and pieces that I've bought over the past month that I haven't got round to doing videos for, opening. I thought I'd build them up and then I'd do a sort of mass haul kind of video. I say mass haul, it ain't like stacks, it's just a little stack like that. So that video's coming later, and there's a 4K version of Cutthroat Island in there. So I watched the 4K of Cutthroat Island, okay? And I've not seen this film in a long time. I think it came out in 1996. I may be wrong with my dates there. May not be, I don't know. The film flopped. Huge budget, and it didn't recoup any of its money whatsoever. And to this day, it's historically known as a dud film. But is it that bad a film? Geena Davis stars, Matthew Modine, Frank Langella, Skeletor as the villain. I enjoy the film. That's all I could say. I enjoy the film. I just think that audiences weren't ready for pirates at that time. Coming back to pirate movies, because it's quite a decent swashbuckling movie. It's directed by Renny Harlin. Renny Harlin, who gave us films such as Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, Deep Blue Sea, among a wealth of others. And the film looks great. It looks great. I mean, I'm not talking about the 4K transfer. It comes out in a minute. I mean, the film itself is, it's all in camera, isn't it? It's all in camera, and it looks great. Some fantastic action explosions while people are riding horses away from them and all this sort of a thing. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, my apologies. I had to step away for a minute there because I had a notification slide up on the screen saying that Zavvi had some more of the Film Vault Steelbooks back in stock. The two that recently got released, 2001: A Space Odyssey and Scarface. I had to have a look at what the... I couldn't see that from the thing that came up. I had to go into it. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, so Cutthroat Island. Yeah. I've got no problem with this film. Okay, it's not the greatest film. Don't get me wrong, but it's a good time as a pirate movie. There's not many pirate movies out there, and it's certainly better than some of the, or most of the latter Pirates of the Caribbean films. But it's more of a straight ace, so to speak. More of a straight story. It doesn't delve into the over-the-top stuff that the Pirates of the Caribbean movies does with the skeletons. It all looks great, that sort of a thing. That sort of fantastical. This is like a pirate movie. Geena Davis does a good job, good hand at action. I'm sure she was married to Renny Harlin at the time. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, okay, so that 4K transfer of Cutthroat Island, I will say, I was a bit disappointed by it. I was a bit disappointed. I don't think it's the best of... There's still a lot of grain. There's a lot of grain in some scenes. And then others there's not. There's others where it does look pretty damn good. But then there's other scenes that look incredibly terrible. Like it's like scenes that are off of a different film stock or something. Of far lesser quality. This sort of thing. Interestingly, I've not watched the transfer of that Blu-ray that I've got, that German Blu-ray. I've not seen that transfer. But as good as the film is, and I enjoyed it, I can't say that the actual 4K upgrade blew me away. There we go. That's just, it wasn't the greatest. Anyway. So that was that one. Now let's get on to my degrees of separation. So, like I said, I'm playing this game where... trying to watch a film from the collection. Nothing new that comes in, or maybe a new transfer or something like that, like what I've done with Cutthroat Island. I'm talking about the backlog of films that you see behind me. When I'm watching something from that, I'm choosing by the way of connection, a degree of separation from the film. So let's say, so Minnie Driver was the last film that I watched, was John Cusack in Grosse Pointe Blank. And I can't forget, and I came at Grosse Pointe Blank by watching John Cusack in The Sure Thing. Okay, so The Sure Thing, John Cusack, jumped to Grosse Pointe Blank, John Cusack. Now I'm not allowed to do John Cusack again because I've already done him twice. I'm only allowed to do the actor twice. So I took Minnie Driver, because obviously you have to have the actor connection. So I took Minnie Driver, and I did ask the question, what Minnie Driver film should I watch? We had things like Good Will Hunting. We had, I don't know if I wanted to count GoldenEye, because she's in like a minute role in it, some Russian exotic dancer for a minute. But there's films with her in. Anyway, Good Will Hunting is a great film, but I didn't land on that. It was down to time. And how I felt at the time for what sort of film I wanted to watch. So I landed on Hard Rain. Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, obviously Minnie Driver is in it. And this is I don't know what year this was made in, probably in the 90s, early 2000s, I don't know. It's a sort of bank robbery, heist movie, come disaster movie, because it's all set during this flood. There's a major flood, there's a dam about to burst, and you've got Christian Slater, who plays a armoured car driver, collects cash and all that sort of thing, get caught in the flood. Morgan Freeman and that, they're there trying to rob the armoured car. Twists and turns, action ensues, this sort of a thing. And it's a fun film. It's badly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that Rotten Tomatoes is something you should listen to anyway, because they're like kind of shills now, aren't they? But I had fun with it. I had fun with the film, and it's one that I've watched. I probably watched it a couple of years ago, to be honest, when I first got this Blu-ray. But I fancied watching it again because you got Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's a great actor. Yeah, it's a good film. There's a funny shot at the beginning. Where I had to rewind and watch again a couple of times, because there's a scene from above looking down on the town, and it's coming in, and clearly everything is fake at this point. It's CGI, it's CG'd, it's whatever it is, a mixture of CG and real, whatever it may be. It just doesn't look right. These cars driving around this corner in puddles of rain, or puddles of water, yeah, rain in its heavy waters, and it doesn't look right. It looks like they're superimposed upon, or the water's superimposed around them. There's something not right about it, right? And then the camera comes down and transitions into a real shot of the cars in sort of floodwater. And I'm trying to see the transition from one to the other. But I think and you can see it around the cars more than anything else. But they've cleverly hidden it, because this is the opening title sequence, and you've got names and that coming up on the screen as this scene's going forward. And that transition between optical effects to real is actually the bits that you would see where you'd see the proper transition are hidden by title names and that come up on the screen. I had to go back and watch that a couple of times to see if I could see it, but there we go. But yeah, so it was a decent watch, though, Hard Rain. So that brings me to, who do I follow out of this film? Because you have Morgan Freeman, you have Christian Slater, you also have Randy Quaid, him from Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Vacation movies and that sort of a thing. So it was at this point I decided, do you know what, I'm going to let fate decide what I'm going to do. Reason being I landed on Fate is because I'm thinking, well, if I can watch this film, then I could follow Morgan Freeman out of it into Shawshank, into Robin Hood. You know, I could follow Christian Slater out of it. What's he been in? Do you know what I mean? I could follow Christian Slater. I could do Star Trek 6 because he's a minor role in that. You know, just a cameo. But I could follow him out and into that, and that opens up like Bill Shatner and whoever else. Do you know what I mean? All these sort of people. So I thought, no, I've got to let fate decide. So I wrote names down on a bit of paper, and I used Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, and Randy Quaid, and rolled up their names and had the wife pick one of the bits of paper, and she landed upon Randy Quaid. Yes, Randy Quaid. Now, I'm pretty sure I haven't got many films with Randy Quaid in. I certainly don't have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2. Is that even National Lampoon's, or is that just called Christmas Vacation 2? I don't know. It's not a film I've seen, not a film that I have. So how many films with Randy Quaid do I actually have? I can't answer that question, right? But they were written down, they were put down, and it weren't many. I don't really want to do. National Lampoon's was in there, Christmas and Normal Vacation. I didn't really want to do them. Luckily, she pulled the movie Independence Day. Independence Day, yes. 97, I believe. I saw this several times at the cinema when it came out. And this is a film that I can watch every so often. It's a great film. It still stands up. I don't care. I have zero problem with this movie. I love this film. I think it's fantastic. I think it is great. I think, you know, it still looks good because you have that culmination of visual effects and models working in tandem in a cohesive nature that just come together, give you some fantastic special effects. It makes me miss this kind of special effects work. Special effects work where one enhanced the other, whereas today special effects are all CG, and it just looks a plastic mess. Yeah, these days of working this stuff, and you know, and this film's got some great characters in it. It's got some great dialogue. It's got some good special effects. It's got great action. Probably my number one disaster movie of all time. Funny how I went from Hard Rain, which is essentially a disaster movie and a heist movie, into an alien invasion movie, disaster movie. 2 disaster movies in one go. So yeah, I can't, and it looks great in 4K. It looks great in 4K. Yeah, I can't fault that. So yes. So anyway, so what did that lead me to next? Because let's see who we've got. Right, Randy Quaid I can't include again because I've done him twice. But you've got Will Smith, you've got Bill Pullman, you've got Jeff Goldblum, you've got oh blimey, who else have you got in the film? You know, you've got bloody Brent Spiner. I could have gone into Star Trek that way and all this sort of a thing. You know, a wealth of actors. You've got Baldwin, is it? What Baldwin is it? Not one of the Baldwin brothers. The one who's in Predator 2 in a little role. The one who's in Serenity and TV series Chuck. Not that I'm taking it into TV series. I'm not. But he's in it. And you got a wealth of talent in the film. So anyway. So again, we done the names. And what was pulled was Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman, yes. Now, and then I'm scratching my head to how many films do I have with Bill Pullman in? So anyway, so again, went through his IMDb, films I have, or I knew that I could get to, put them down, and what was pulled was the film. And ironically, my missus said, oh yeah, I don't mind watching that. I'll watch that. I thought, hold on a minute, when it was pulled, I thought she was going to go, I'm bailing on that one. I don't want to watch that one. Let me pick again. That's something that probably will happen at times when she's not too happy on who we land upon. So anyway, so we landed upon Wyatt Earp. Kevin Costner. Now, ironically, Kevin Costner's Horizon has just come out. 3-hour Kevin Costner epic. The other week, I just watched The Postman, 3 hours Kevin Costner epic. And now we're down to Wyatt Earp, a 3-hour Kevin Costner epic. He likes his 3-hour epics, doesn't he? So yeah, and that was one of the things that could have led to, actually, because you had What's-Her-Face in it, who plays the president's wife, who was in Dances with Wolves. She was one of the Mary McDonnell was her name or something like that. She was one of the options as well in the list, and that could have led me to a 4-hour Kevin Costner epic, because I have the uncut, or 3 hours 45 minutes uncut version of Dances with Wolves on Blu-ray. Where's the 4K of that? So anyway, so Lawrence Kasdan directed, yeah. Obviously, you've got the film Tombstone, which is more of a popcorn-esque kind of western, and you've got Wyatt Earp, which is more of the biographical story of the character of Wyatt's character. Any character is a real person. He was of Wyatt Earp, and this follows his life from his young days up up and beyond the gunfight at the OK Corral, which in reality only lasted between 30 seconds and a minute. And you've had films made over that incident. But yes, so Wyatt Earp. Now, Kevin Costner, I like Kevin Costner. Okay, I've got no issue with Kevin Costner. I think he's a good actor. I think he delivers for his craft. I think he's a good director when he's in the director's chair. Yeah, and no mistake here either. This is a solid film. 3 hours. It doesn't bore me. We did watch it over 2 nights. I will say that. We watched it over 2 nights. Because we start quite late. We watch half of it. We go to bed. Yeah, you know how it is. And then we watch the rest of it the next day. And I really enjoyed the film. Now, I'm not going to get into a debate on whether Wyatt Earp is better than Tombstone or whatever. I think they're both very good films. And for 2 different reasons. One being popcorn, one being more real biographical kind of a thing. So yeah, great performances all around. And the cast in this, you got Kevin Costner as Wyatt Earp, you've got Dennis Quaid as Doc Holliday, you've got Gene Hackman as Wyatt Earp's father, you've got Ashton Linby, I think that's his name. Is that his name? Something like that. Anyway, he's the geezer who was in 1995's Mortal Kombat film as Johnny Cage. So in my mind as I'm watching, I'm thinking, I could go all these different ways. You've got Tia Leone pops up in a small role as some sort of a hooker. You've got Jim Caviezel, very young Jim Caviezel in this film, who comes into it at the end as one of the younger Wyatt Earp family members. Right, he's only towards the end. You've got... interestingly, I didn't know that Jim Caviezel was actually in The Rock as well. Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage film The Rock. He's a pilot in that. I had no idea. Anyway, yeah, so you've got him. You've got... Christ, who else have you got in this film? You've got that Baldwin guy again, who I mentioned. He's in this as one of the bad guys. Yeah, so, my mind's going, what way can we go? So, yeah, a great film, superb film, and, I loved it. I loved the visit to it. So, I haven't yet drawn on names from this film, but like I said, you got Kevin Costner, you got Dennis Quaid, Bill Pullman's in this, obviously, like I said, but I can't use Bill Pullman. Tom Sizemore's in it, right, so... Kevin Costner, Dennis Quaid, Gene Hackman, Tom Sizemore, Tia Leone, Jim Caviezel, the Baldwin guy. Is it Alec Baldwin? No, Alec Baldwin is the one who just got done with a gun. I don't know. They didn't get done with a gun. They threw it out. What's his name? What's the Baldwin guy in this? I can't remember his surname. Someone enlighten me in the first name. Someone enlighten me in the comments. He was in Predator 2, Chuck, Serenity, Firefly TV show, tall guy, dark hair. Yeah, anyway. Wyatt Earp was the last watch, so I've got to come out. It wasn't the last watch. The last watch was Cutthroat Island last night, which just makes me remember I didn't talk about the 4K transfer of Cutthroat Island. So let me do that now, and I'll edit it back in. So get away from that. So you've seen that bit now. Anyway, I'm all over the place today, aren't I? Jesus Christ. So Wyatt Earp, solid film. So who do you think I'm going to pull? Who do you think I would pull off next? yeah, I don't know because we haven't done that draw as of yet. But you've got all them names to contend with to go in. So Dennis Quaid I liked in this film. I think I will talk about Dennis Quaid quickly. I think Dennis Quaid was solid in this film. I think Dennis Quaid's a solid actor anyway. I like him a lot. Obviously in Tombstone, I'm not going to do no comparisons. You've got Val Kilmer's performance as Doc Holliday. Now, I don't like Val Kilmer as an actor. I just never got on with him. He's never. But I will say that the one role that I will say that Val Kilmer is solid in is Batman. No, not Batman. Is Doc Holliday in Tombstone. He's fantastic. He just commands the screen, steals his performances off of everyone. He is solid in that film. But that's not to say Dennis Quaid didn't give a good performance as Doc Holliday. He did, and I liked it. It's not as over the top as and as memorable as what was delivered by Val Kilmer. I will say that. But there we go. So those are my watches. What actor do you think I'll lead out of Wyatt Earp with? Or who would you like me to see out of Wyatt? I'm leaving it up to fate, but who would you like to see? Where would you go next after Wyatt Earp as a degree of separation? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one. It may be 2 weeks again. I don't know. We'll see how it gets on. All right, so I'll see you then.